Welcome back. All right, so today we're going to talk about pole shift. Last couple of days we've talked about, or last about 3 days since we had that roofing issue. So we talked about the Earth's rotation, how they talked about it started to slow. 2012 it was starting to slow. We've also talked about climate change. Today we're going to talk about the pole shift. And I'm also going to see or try to explain how I see all three of these things are all interrelated. So the Earth's poles, as we know, there's the North and the South Pole. There's a magnetic. There's actually three norths, especially as illustrated on a map. There's a grid north, true north, and a magnetic north. Grid north is basically the north and south, east and west on the grid lines that are on a map. True north is the north that points always towards Polaris, which is the northern star. And a magnetic north is the one that sits on the continent that kind of shifts occasionally. When we do maps in the geospatial field, or whether it's cartography or whatever, when we create a map that is used for land navigation, there also has to have that magnetic north, because that is the way in which you would traverse using a map and a compass. That declination diagram that is shown on the map tells you how to convert from the grid north, which is where those lines are on your map, to the compass, to the magnetic north. Okay, so depending on which way it is, you're either going to add or subtract whatever that declination degree is. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of maps right now that are out of whack because typically the data for a map is up to 3 years old. So even if the map was done this year, it's potentially off because the magnetic north is shifting, and it's shifting east and south depending on who you listen to and what's going on. Now, in recent years here lately, it's been increasing. I've watched a lot of different, or I've researched a lot of different places looking for kind of a consensus. The consensus is that it's increasing. The speed in which this is changing is increasing. So there's a very strong potential, especially when you start to couple that with some of the other things, that it's going to be fairly soon. A lot of folks, a lot of scientists say that it is something that takes thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But science, the geology, doesn't support that consensus, because there have been times where catastrophic events have occurred that are associated with this magnetic pole shifting. So just because somebody says that it's not going to happen soon or fast doesn't mean that it won't. Okay, so is that another reason to be scared? No. Is it going to be bad? Yes, especially if you live along the coastal areas. Now, how I think all these three things are tied in together, and there's a lot more factors at work, but these three specific ones. So as these magnetic poles shift, the rotation of the Earth also changes. It slows, speeds up sometimes, but slows. And as this speed up and slow down occurs, just like when you spin a top, there is a point on the equator, or the edges of that thing, in which the water can bulge. Okay, and in the case of the Earth, that's currently around our equator, or what we know as to be the equator. So, but in times past, things have happened that have illustrated that the equator we have today may not have been the equator that we had years ago. And I'm talking way years ago, because there used to be a tropical forest that is now underwater near the Antarctic. So that means at some point in time, that area had to be somewhere near the equator. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a tropical forest. But so as these things shift, it's also going to affect the climate itself of the Earth. Okay, we study the ice that's at the poles, but even that is still kind of recent history, because again, at points in our history there has been no ice. So the record that we have of glaciers is only as long as there have been glaciers. It still does not tell us, still does not give us the record of what was occurring on the Earth when there was no ice, or before that ice was actually deposited. So, but geological records, as far as we've been able to get down, illustrate that these shifts have occurred, because the way in which the rock crystals align illustrate to us which direction the poles were oriented at the time of the deposition of that rock. So this is not something new. It's not something that's not ever happened before. But it is something that appears to be something that could happen within our lifetime, or within our kids' lifetime. So it's something that we do need to be thinking about. It doesn't mean that the world's going to end tomorrow or the next day. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to scare the britches off of you, because it's if we understand what's going to happen, then we can make plans and be ready for it. That's my philosophy. I've always believed that, and I'm ready for that. So if it happens, there's not much that we can do to change it. So if we can't change it, then there's no sense in spending a lot of energy worrying about it. What do we want to spend our energy on? Spend the energy in getting ourselves mentally, spiritually, and physically ready. Okay. As we talked about with the Earth's rotation, if the Earth slows down and the water that is around the equator starts to equalate, or what's the word I'm looking for? If it starts to equalize, then it's going to rush towards the North and South poles. When the poles do shift, and seems like the consensus of this is going to be the North Pole would be somewhere off the coast of South America, and the South Pole will be somewhere south of India, currently where India is. So if those happen, or when that happens, if that's where they are, then that's going to be where the rotation of the Earth is going to occur. So basically, it's going to flip on its side and start to rotate in a manner in which South America is towards the north and India is towards the south. So when that happens, all of the water that's at the equator is going to basically try to equalize across the globe, okay, until the rotation gets back up and that water starts to recollect along the new equator, at whatever that is. So the other thing that's going to potentially happen is the continental plates these tectonics that they talk about, the plate tectonics, the plates are going to probably readjust as well. And when they readjust, there's going to be a lot of earthquakes, there'll probably be a lot of volcano activity, and there will probably be another ice age. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that you need to be cognizant of what's going on. Remember, situational awareness. Stay aware of what's going on. Does that mean that you need to move off the coast? That's up to you. That's not a call that I would make. I don't think I would quit my job if, because of this, that it's going to happen. But there are things that you can do to get ready. You're definitely going to want to have some higher elevations. Areas, there are products out there that illustrate where the scientists believe this is going to occur, or how this will occur, what areas will be impacted and what areas will not be impacted. Those are things that you can take a look at. If this is something that's a concern to you, I would definitely take a look at it then. But the thing is, change is always happening. And even if this pole doesn't shift within our lifetime, the impacts of the process of this shift are going to continue to impact the climate, okay, the weather. So that means that these storms, flooding, these big hailstorms that are going on in Australia and Saudi Arabia, and tornadoes in crazy places like Port Orchard, Washington State, these kinds of things are going to continue to happen. So what we need to do is to be ready for this, okay? And how we get ready for that is, as I said, have a plan, create the plan, and then identify what the resources that you would need to make it through those particular types of situations, whatever those are, tornado, flood, etc. If you live in a low area, or if you live in a known floodplain, like below sea level, as in New Orleans, or if you live along the floodplain like of the Mississippi, Missouri, any of the river systems, especially if you're downstream from any type of dam, I would consider moving out of those locations. Again, I don't think that climate change is a problem all by itself. The problem is we have attempted to change the natural order of things on the planet, and we are now living in areas that we should not be living in. That's my personal opinion. That's why I would not want to buy a place on the coast, because weather events happen there all the time. And no matter how much time, money, energy that you put into it, you are not going to stop the ocean. It's just too big. And people that are trying to tell us that it's our fault, that we've got to reduce this and tax that, it's not a fix. When I was so I started to get a master's in environmental science, and I quickly realized that they weren't trying to fix anything. They were just trying to figure out how they could cover it. And that is not what I want to do. And that is not what being a good steward is. It's not trying to cover the problem. It's trying to find a solution to the problem. Climate change, the solution is not even on this planet. The solution is on the sun. A lot of our weather impacts come from the output of the sun, or the lack of output, depending on circumstances. That's the biggest driver of the weather. The other biggest driver is, or something that can influence it, is the volcanic activity. We cannot stop the plates from moving. Okay, we cannot stop volcanoes from going off. That is not part of our that's not part of our toolkit. We cannot stop those things. Those things are going to happen. And we know, there's been records where woolly mammoths were basically flash frozen. Buttercups were still in the mouth of some of these woolly mammoths. That's cold and fast. Okay, so these catastrophic events do occur. Now the problem is we have become kind of complacent in the fact that we haven't seen them in our lifetime, so therefore, it's not going to happen. It's not happened now. It's not going to happen tomorrow. That's a distinct possibility. But my premise is always to be ready. No matter what it is, I'm going to be ready. Okay? So you can take this information and do with it as you will. You can disregard. You can tell me I'm crazy, which that's a possibility. But I can tell you that the climate and the weather is changing. It's going to get worse. And if these are towards the last days, as spoken of in the Bible, then things are going to get a lot worse. The Bible says there'll be earthquakes in diverse places, wars, rumors of war. All these things are starting to come to pass. Yes, I agree that, pretty much every generation has said the same thing. But I don't believe that things have been as close as they were as the times of Noah, which is also one of the markers that has been talked about. So I'm not going to get into what that is, but check out the story of Noah and the times that were happening before Noah built the ark, and compare that to the events that are going on now worldwide. And you make your decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can tell you how to make a plan. I can tell you that you need a plan. I can show you how, or I can do it for you. But I can't make you do it. I can't make you use it. But I can tell you this: if you are not ready, then you can expect things are going to be pretty rough. That's fact. And if they get to the point where it's pretty bad, like in a Katrina environment, there may not be anybody there to help you. And, if you're waiting on somebody to save you, or rescue you, or bring you food and water and, shelter and clothes, and they're just going to take care of you, you are deluding yourself. Yes, they do that. Government comes out, does help. Non-governmental agencies come out and help take care of people. But they've got to take care of themselves first. And they have to have the resources in order to help you. And then once they decide that they're wanting to, they've got to be able to get to you. So that all that takes time. So there, you can choose to get ready for yourself and to take care of yourself. Like I said, when that grid down, the government changed its stance. Normally, they only preach 72 hours and that they're going to come save you. Something has changed. Something is going on that has said, hey, you need to be ready for at least 6 months. And even in the report, it talks 12 to 16 months or 18 months. So what do they know that they're not telling you, that this warning has come out now? I mean, as long as I can remember, 72 hours is all they've ever preached. But now their sermon's a little bit different. So I don't know what else people can be, what else you should be told or how else to get across to you. This must be pretty serious because they have changed the stance that they have stood on for years, as long as I've been alive. So, back when I was a kid, we used to have civil defense drills, not necessarily for tornadoes, which is what they eventually used them for, but for nuclear attacks. Now, whether or not that's going to happen or not, but a CME, that's a distinct possibility. Even though we're in a solar minimum, they're still saying that the events from these CMEs can be even stronger than when we're having a solar maximum. So just because the solar minimum is occurring does not mean that a CME is not possible. In fact, they think that it's a distinct possibility. That the Carrington in 1859 that took out all the telegraph lines. If that hit now, that would be game over for electric for a while. We'll be back in the Stone Age, and you need to know how to live during the Stone Age, or you're not going to live. It's quite simple. And I may get chastised because of what I'm saying, but it's the time to wake up is now. So get ready, get a plan. If you need help, call us or not call us, email us. We can set up an appointment to talk. I don't give out my phone number because of crazy people. I don't want a bunch of nuts calling me. But get a plan, and if you don't get it from us, if you don't have us to help you, do it yourself. But you need to make sure that you cover all of the aspects in order to be safe. You need to understand what skills that you would need during these times. There's so much going on that I think that the time to plan and to get ready is dwindling fast. So I just pray that you don't wait till it's too late. The website is greatlivingsources.com. A lot of information on there. There's a contact us tab on there. My email is guy@greatlivingsources.com. You can leave a message on this on the YouTube channel. You can contact me on Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages, GL Sky, and I have Great Living Sources. You can message me through there, but whatever you do, you need to do it pretty quick. I don't think we have a lot of time before something is going to occur. I can't tell you how long. I'm not going to give you a point in time, but I think something is coming. So hope you're ready. Like I said, if you need something, give us a comment. Subscribe so that you can get the videos that we put out. We try to help with different things. Let us know what topics that you would maybe interested in. I usually try to fish off of different websites and things, or like the YouTube and stuff, to see what things people are talking about or people are concerned with. I try to get things off the news. So, but if there's a topic that you're interested in hearing something about, let us know, and we will definitely try to get it on here. All right, thanks. God bless, and stay safe. Remember the core of calm.